So for each of these projects today, we're going to be using one of those orange foam pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. I went out and sprayed this one with my Rust-Oleum black flat spray paint. This is performance spray paint, so it's a little bit different than regular spray paint. Then I'm going to use some of these wood stems that I got at the Dollar Tree. I really like these for pumpkin stems. You can glue them on top of each other or just use one, and they just give it a really fun look. So then I'm going to take one bag of these googly eyes from the Dollar Tree. This particular bag only had 5 giant eyes in the whole bag. The next bag ends up having like a whole bunch of big ones, so it's kind of hit and miss like what you get in the bag. But we're going to take this whole bag and we're going to glue it around the top of this pumpkin. There are 125 eyes in this bag, and I do use all 125 eyes. So once I get those glued on the top of the pumpkin, I kind of start to glue them down after a little bit, and I'm going kind of in rows. So I'm going to take the next bag of eyes and I'm just going to start gluing them down the side of the pumpkin. This is a little bit time consuming, so put on your favorite TV show, a movie, podcast, something, and keep your mind busy while you glue. So this is the pile I have left. I used probably 3/4 of the bag. Then I'm going to take some ribbon. This also came from the Dollar Tree. I wasn't lucky enough to find any of the Halloween ribbon this year, so I'm having to use what was in my stash. And I don't have much of it left. I'm kind of sad. I did find it on the website, so I might just have to break down and buy like a whole case of it. But I'm just making a crisscross bow. I'm going to use some twine and just wrap it around the middle. If you want a better tutorial for these kind of bows, I will list that right here in the cards, and then it will be down in the description box as well. So I just tie it off really tight with some twine. I make a good knot, and then I'm going to clip that off. I do go ahead and dovetail the ends of this ribbon, and then the excess ribbon that I cut off from dovetailing it, I'm going to go ahead and use in the middle of the bow. That way I don't have to waste any of the ribbon and I still get a finished look in the middle. I then am going to glue this bow just up at the top of the pumpkin, and then this project is complete.
Dreamed about nothing else.
So, what'd you guys think of the first project? Let me know down in the comments. Would you have changed anything? Do you like it just the way it is? Are you going to recreate it? I'd love to know. And if you're loving the video, the DIYs, or just me, hit that like button and I will have a better chance of having my video be seen by other people. So let's get back to the video and find out what the next project is with our favorite pumpkins. So I'm going to be making a fabric wrapped pumpkin here, and I have never made one of these before. So the first step to this is to use your scissors or a knife or something to cut out a circle up in the top. I did not realize that these pumpkins were hollow. So when I'm cutting out the top here, when I get around to the end, it actually just falls in there and the whole inside of this pumpkin is empty. I didn't know that. Learned something new today. So then I just cut about a square of this material that I had in my stash, and I just start pushing it through the hole. I didn't even put any glue in this one because I had enough excess fabric that it's not going to come apart. This was so easy. I have shied away from these for a long time, just thinking that it was really difficult to wrap it with the fabric, but it actually wasn't doing this method. So if you have never made one of these before, or it was really hard or something like that, this is the method for you. So I just keep pulling it around and sticking it into the hole until I get all of the spare pieces of fabric into the hole. I do go ahead and put a slight bit of glue here at the end, just to kind of fold it over onto each other and glue it onto part of the other fabric, because that piece did not quite make it to my hole. So once I get all of the fabric poked in here and tight as can be, I'm going to take another one of those wood stems that came from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to glue it on top here with my fabric. And it sticks really well here, even though there's a big hole, because it's gluing to the fabric. So these are super fun because you could pick any fabric that you want. If you've watched for a while, you know I'm into blue for fall, so that's why I had blue plaid, but you could do any fabric you wanted here. So then I took some of these berry garland wrap. It's like a twine wrap from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to wrap it all around this pumpkin, and then I go ahead and wrap it a few times around the stem. Then I cut it, and I'm going to make some curly cues on both sides to make it look like a pumpkin vine. I do go ahead and add a little bit of hot glue up to the top just to hold it in place, but this is wired, so it does kind of hold whatever shape you give it really well. And then all I'm going to do is, make sure it's secure in place, and then this project is complete.
I always thought I'd be waiting in vain, but suddenly there you were. Never thought it'd be easy to feel you in my arms, but now we're here and I'm all.
So when I was at Dollar Tree, I saw the most adorable gnome towel that they had out for Halloween, and I thought this would be a super cute pumpkin. So we're doing the steps much like we did the fabric pumpkin. We're just going to hollow out this top little circle, and then I do go ahead and add glue this time. I don't cut any of the towel at all. There is like a white border around this towel, and I thought about cutting that off, but the towel barely makes it to the sides, and so I didn't want to cut off any of the excess towel just to make sure that it got around to where it needed to be. You don't end up seeing any of that white border of the towel anyway after we get it all tucked into the pumpkin. So you could see I did use hot glue for this one. I just put it around the rim and then I start tucking. So this looks kind of like a hot mess, but I promise as long as you just keep pulling and tucking, that all of that excess actually fits into that circle just fine, and you can't tell that you tucked it in instead of doing any kind of cutting. So the really nice thing about this was they ended up being like, I don't want to say pockets, but they weren't really, but they folded onto each other, so they just folded in really nicely, and I just kept twisting and folding, twisting and folding until I got all of the towel in there. Then all I'm going to do is glue a stem on top, and then I'm going to use some raffia, and I'm going to tie the raffia around the stem into a knot, and then I'm just going to cut off any excess, and then this project is complete.
I never thought in the wildest dream I'd see you again. Never dreamed about nothing else.
So for this project, we're going to make a planter, and I did go ahead and use my same performance spray paint that I used in a previous one in this video, and I'm just taking some florals and stems that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just sticking them right into the middle of the pumpkin. I picked some of the darker florals that they had there to kind of go with the black that I had painted on there, so it's kind of a more like foliage type planter. And then after I get all of them in the desired area, I decide to go ahead and take one of these little scarecrows, and I just stick that right into the planter, and then this project is complete.
I always thought I'd be waiting in vain, but suddenly there you were. Never thought it'd be easy to feel you in my arms, but now we're here and I'm...
So for this project, we're going to be using some napkins and Mod Podge that I got at the Dollar Tree. So these napkins only have the printed part on about half of the napkin, so you're going to have to cut them apart, and I think I ended up using like 2 or 3 napkins. So I'm going to Mod Podge this on to the pumpkin, so I just give it a really good amount of Mod Podge. I told you guys in my last video I really struggle with Mod Podge, and this was no exception. I am really on the struggle bus. So anyway, I get it on there, and I really want to make sure that the grooves are there. So just go one section at a time. They are going to overlap a little bit, especially when you do the top and bottom of your napkins. So once I get all the napkins on there, I decided that it would be really fun to add some 3D elements to this pumpkin. So I go ahead and add my pumpkin stem to the top first. That way I kind of gauge where I'm going to add my other elements. And for some reason, I decide to go ahead and glue on the raffia bow that goes with this first before I glued on my 3D elements. Don't do that. Wait till you're done. I don't know what I was thinking, but it ends up kind of getting in the way when I tried to glue on my stuff. So I am out of pretty much any kind of Halloween ribbon. I didn't see any at my store, so I used raffia. Let me know if you would have used something different here. But I found these spiders at the Dollar Tree, and they have different colors too. They have purple, they have green. I went ahead and picked orange because it goes along with the napkin, and so for fun I decided to glue it on top of the orange spiders, some of the orange spiders. So I go ahead and use one full package of the spiders, and I glue them in different directions around the pumpkin, and then once I have that done, then this project is complete.
I wanna be so much better whenever you're around. I wanna say something clever to get in your mind, 'cause right now we're not together and I lose my way then. Oh, I feel so much.
So for this pumpkin, we are going to be making a ribbon wrapped pumpkin. Can you guys believe it? I've never made one of these either. I think I must be behind on the pumpkin trend. So I am going to use one full roll of ribbon from the Dollar Tree. This ribbon is kind of see-through. It's pretty thin, so I felt like it was okay not to paint this pumpkin because my ribbon has orange in it anyway, and so it goes with it. But if you don't want the orange to show through on your ribbon, definitely paint your pumpkin first, maybe white, and then it won't show through whatever ribbon you're using. So all I'm going to do is glue one end of the ribbon to one bottom of the pumpkin, and then I'm going to glue it again at the top of the pumpkin. So a little bit of what I learned making this, I started just going one on top of each other around the pumpkin. As I was about halfway through, I realized that there was an easier way. You should glue your ribbon more like you would cut a pie. So if this was a pie, you would cut it in half and then half again. That's how I would do my ribbon next time. I would definitely go where my ribbon is there, I would do the opposite side of that next, and then I would do the side. I end up with a funky end at the top when I'm all done, and I cover it with a piece of ribbon to kind of hide that, but you could avoid that whole thing by just putting your ribbon around the pumpkin like you would cut a pie. So I decided to add a bow to this, and I told you guys I'm almost out of my fall Halloween ribbon, and none of my stores have any more left, sadly. So I'm either going to have to order some online or just, maybe go without. So this was the ribbon that was at the very end of my roll. I went ahead and just folded it, what was left, in half, and then made a fold over bow with that, and then I'm just put some twine here in the middle to give it the more of a bow shape. I do go ahead and dovetail the ends because we want to make sure our projects look high-end looking, and that is one of the easiest ways to do that. So once I get that bow all made and prepped, I'm just going to go ahead and glue it to the center of this stem here. Then I decided to add some of these leaves. If you missed my leaf DIY video where I made several projects with these leaves from the Dollar Tree, I'll list that here up in the cards and down in the description box. So I'm just placing 3 different leaves underneath my bow, and then this project is complete.
I wanna say something clever to get in your mind, 'cause right now we're not together and I lose my way then. Oh, I feel so much better whenever you're around, whenever you're around.
So for this project, we're going to cover it with some lace. I went ahead and sprayed it with some rose gold spray paint and some metallic gold spray paint. And then I did pick up my lace at a garage sale. I wasn't lucky enough to find any of the lace doilies that the Dollar Tree was selling, but you could use one of those here as well if you wanted to. I did put hot glue in the circle of this one just because my lace isn't as long as the fabric or the towel, and so I was worried that it wouldn't stay in there. But the really nice thing about this method to getting your fabric or whatever you're covering the pumpkin with is that when you're folding it over and you have kind of the big amounts and you tuck them in, it gives you those nice little pleats in the top, and that gives you more of a pumpkin look like real pumpkins have. So that was really what I liked about this technique that I saw. And again, it's super easy and really fast, and so it doesn't take you much time. So I go ahead and tuck in all of the lace, and I just make sure it's really secure in there, and then I have this nice little hole. So then I go ahead and use my wood piece to put in as my stem, and for this one I used a shorter stem and I pushed it in really well just to give it a different look. So not all pumpkin stems are the same. This one reminded me of kind of one of those squashed pumpkins, and I really liked how that turned out. So I am adding a shabby chic bow, just using that shabby chic ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I just tied it into one of those fold over bows again and glued it on there. And then I'm using some of these mini pine cones from a project I did a couple weeks ago. I will post that right here in the cards if you missed it. And then I'm adding an acorn and a little bit of that twine ribbon again, just to give it the kind of curly cues of a stem. And then once I get that glued on, then this project is complete.
I wanna be so much better whenever you're around. I wanna say something clever to get in your mind, 'cause right now we're not together and I lose my way then. Oh, I feel
For this project, I'm going to be using one of these easels that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. It was over in the picture frame area, kind of by the wedding stuff. And I'm just using a regular piece of scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby, and it's the buffalo check. For some reason, this video made the paper look holographic, but it isn't. It's just regular buffalo check paper. So I'm using a glue stick to glue my paper onto the chalkboard. I don't like to use Mod Podge. I'm just not very good at getting the wrinkles out, and I find that the glue stick works just as fine on any kind of wood type projects with paper, so that usually is my go-to. So I'm using a sanding block from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to get off any excess paper that's on the edges, and then I'm ready to move on to the next part of the project. So I'm going to be using some of these ornaments that they have over at the Dollar Tree. They have them for every holiday, and they're always so cute. The fall ones were super adorable. So they had like a latte looking one, they had a pumpkin, and they had this fox, and I thought the fox was adorable. So I'm going to use the fox today, and I'm just using some plaid scrapbook paper that came from a paper pack from Hobby Lobby. That paper pack is amazing. If you missed my video where I made the paper cone wreath, I will list that up here in the cards. I use the same paper pack, and it's just adorable. I just am really finding that I love the paper in there. So I'm going to go ahead and glue the fox cutout that I did on the paper onto our fox, and then I'm going to use some ribbon I had in my stash. So this ribbon I actually bought from Michael's for Easter Easter. And the thing I love about some types of ribbon is they can be really universal. So I use this at Easter time. It's also appropriate for fall. So if you're going to splurge on some crafting items, I totally suggest ribbon, like buying ribbon that you can use multiple seasons. So you always get that vibe. Like I love some of the red and white buffalo check ribbon that they have at the Dollar Tree. That could be used for Christmas and Valentine's. So I always try, if I'm going to splurge on ribbon at Hobby Lobby, I try to buy ribbon that I know is going to be, multiple uses. So once I get my bow made, I'm going to go ahead and glue it onto the middle of our fox's neck. And then I'm taking a tumbling tower block and I'm going to glue it on the back, and I'm going to attach that to the front of the easel, and then this project is complete.
Someone did you wrong. I can see it in your eyes. It's like your fire is gone. Across your face, it is written across your face.
Ever seen these at the Dollar Tree and you're like, what do people make with these? Well, the next DIY is this project. If you're liking the video so far, make sure you hit the like button so other people have a chance to see it, and let's go find out what I made. So for this project, I'm going to be using 3 of these kind of the medium large sign, I don't know, the medium long sign from Easter, and I'm just removing the back parts of it, and then I also removed like the foam pieces that were on the other side as well. And I'm just going to use my favorite wood glue, which is the Type Bond 3. I use this all the time. I love it. It works amazing. So I glue all 3 of the pieces together, and I just go ahead and give it some time to kind of dry, and then I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next part. The only thing that I would suggest if you're going to remake this is to maybe sand the top of the sign. I didn't even notice, you're going to see when I use my spray paint, that there was like some rough spots at the top until I started using the spray paint. But I mean, I love how it turned out. So if you don't mind, then don't worry about it. But if you're someone who's like, ooh, then make sure you sand. So then I'm just taking my brown spray paint and I'm going to spray paint this entire piece. Where I had the wood glue, I probably could have waited a little bit longer for it to dry. But where there is some glue there, it picks up the spray paint a little differently. But that's okay because we're going to cover it up and you're not even going to be able to notice. So I'm going to take that felt pumpkin and I'm going to use my gold spray paint, and I'm going to go over the top of this foam or felt piece with my gold spray paint. So I go around the pumpkin in between where the little slits are, and then I go ahead and do the rest of the wood piece as well with the gold piece, so that the only part of the brown that's showing is our pumpkin. So I'm ready to make a bow, and I'm going to use messy bows today. I just thought they were fitting for this project. So I took a few different types of ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to lay them down. So I thought it would be good to have a patterned ribbon, then a solid ribbon, and then another type of patterned ribbon. So I'm using 2 types of plaid ribbon here, and at first I was like, I don't know, if plaid on plaid, but these 2 were enough of a different color that I thought that they actually worked together. So I'm using my twine. I'm just going to tie it. It kind of all goes together because these are big pieces of ribbon, but that's okay because we're going to fluff it out and all will be well. So I'm just going to tie it in a knot, trim off my twine, and then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to kind of fluff. So these are a little bit different fluffing than they are when you do like an actual bow, because you're not fluffing out the like middle bow pieces. We're just going to kind of fluff out the ribbon itself. And then once I get it to look like a desired look I'm going for, then I'm going to go ahead and dovetail the ends, because that's going to give us a really easy high end look. So I do every piece of ribbon, and then I'm ready to attach it. So my original thought was to attach it up at the top of the sign, but then I decided no, that I actually really liked it being tied around where the stem of the pumpkin is, so that's where I decided to glue it. I'm going to go ahead and make my own little bundle here of Dollar Tree greenery goodies. I also did this in another video, and I'll post that up here, where I made some wreaths and I made my own bundles. I like making my own bundles because I can put as many as I want in there, and I can put what I want in there, and I can make the stem shorter, which is kind of the purpose of why I always make my own bundle. So I'm just going to add some hot glue here to the sign. I'm going to go ahead, lay my bundle down, then I'm going to make sure that's attached pretty well. Then I glue my ribbon on top of that, and then to kind of finish it off, I'm just taking some of the excess pieces of those pumpkins where the leaves are, and I'm going to glue that kind of down to the middle of the bow, and I'm going to add a couple more pumpkins there, and then this project is complete.
Across your face. If you wanna go out, we can go out. You can hide away just for one night. But if you wanna cry, just let it out. I'm by your side now. Just hold on a bit more, 'cause I know.
So the Dollar Tree has some really adorable vintage Halloween stuff out, and if you know me at all, you know vintage Halloween is my jam. So I had to pick up some, and I wanted to make a wreath. So I have never used one of these square wreath forms, and I thought I would try it out. Let me just tell you guys, this wreath is huge. So I went ahead and got 6 bundles of the deco mesh. That's what I normally get for a round wreath, and I was going to see, just start with that and see how much I needed. So I'm using just this cutting mat that has a ruler on it, and I'm cutting my mesh at 6 inches. Now I know there's a lot of people who use rotary cutters. I even tried to use a rotary cutter this time. Either my blade is dull or I just am not doing it correctly, but it took a lot longer for me to use the rotary blade instead of the scissors, so I just use the scissors. If you have the rotary blade and you want to do that instead, you're more than welcome, but you're going to cut all 6 packages of your deco mesh to 6 inches and then put them into bundles like I have here. So I'm just using some pipe cleaners from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut them in half. All I do is bend them in half. You can use scissors or wire cutters and just trim them. So I do a really easy method. All we're doing is rolling here. So if this is like you're intimidated by wreath making, this is the simplest wreath you could start with. So all you're going to do is roll your deco mesh into a little bundle. As you can see, I'm just going from one side to the other, rolling it up and cinching it in my hand. Once I get 3 bundles, I'm going to take my pipe cleaner and I put it around the bundles, and I pull super tight, if you can see that here. So I use my fingers, I pull it back, it's super tight, and then I twist my pipe cleaners. Now, sometimes it can get a little difficult using the smaller pipe cleaners, especially when you get to the wreath form. If you are someone who has hand problems, I do too, sometimes a longer pipe cleaner will work, and that's okay. You can trim it off in the back when you're done. So one more time, I'm going to show you that technique. I'm just rolling one piece and cinching it, and then I'm rolling a second piece and cinching it, and then I'm going to roll this third piece, cinch it up in my hand all together to make one bundle. Then I'm going to take my pipe cleaner and I'm going to wrap it around, and then I pull super tight so that there's like a space where my finger is in between the mesh and the pipe cleaner, and then I twist. So I have a super tight hold on my mesh. I'm going to do that for all of the deco mesh that I cut out. And then I'm ready to attach it to my wreath form. So like I said, I've never used this square wreath form before. Wasn't really sure how much of the deco mesh I was going to need. I decided to do the 2 outside rings and attach my deco mesh there. I don't know. I think if I make another one of these, I might try the inside rings because I felt like you could see a little bit of it. I had to kind of go back and fill in some of the areas. It could just be that I didn't put enough deco mesh when I was going around, because the little rings in between, they were kind of weird, and it's possible that I just didn't put him close enough to that. But all we're going to do is alternate between black and orange. So I tie on a black bundle, then I tie on an orange bundle, then a black bundle. You get the idea, and we're just going to go this first length so I can show you how many pieces there were. So after I counted, I believe there are 14 bundles there to go across. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of them. This is what I got when I did my 6. So I still had one piece of the wreath that was left over. So I took one more bundle of orange, one more bundle of black, and I just did the same thing, cut them out, rolled them together, and filled in the rest of the wreath. So I'm using this truck that is a Halloween, and I didn't show you the front yet, but it's adorable. Like I said, I love vintage Halloween, and they had so many possibilities over there this year for decorating. I was super excited. So I'm just taking 4 full-length pipe cleaners, and I'm gluing them to the 4 corners of our sign. I make sure that I have a generous amount of glue on these because sometimes they can pop off. So I put glue down on the sign, then I stick my pipe cleaner in the glue, and then I put glue over it just to make sure that it's really stuck on there well. So now I'm going to lay it on top of the wreath, and I'm going to kind of dig in there till I find the wreath form, and I put all 4 corners through part of the wreath. Then I'm going to flip it over so that I can attach it to the wreath form. So I was having a really hard time getting a good angle of this wreath so that you guys could see it, because I'm not lying, guys, this is like the biggest wreath. That wreath form, it didn't seem like it was that much bigger than the circle, but I think it is. So anyway, here we are. I have it attached to the 4 corners. I'm just twisting, and I make sure that I secure it really well to the wreath frame. So I don't add a lot of things to this wreath. I end up only adding some ribbon, and I make a couple bows here. Let me know if you would add anything else. I couldn't think of anything. Later on I thought maybe some plastic spiders would look really cute in there. I don't know. I love this truck, and I love the little pumpkin skeleton and cat that's in there. So for me, like, sometimes, you know, less is more. I kind of tend to be a minimalist sometimes. But you guys let me know, what would you put on the wreath? Like, would you add anything? Would you leave it the same way? I don't know. I think it's cute. You guys let me know. So I'm using some buffalo check ribbon and some chevron ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and then I'm going to use this striped ribbon that I got at Hobby Lobby. I loved this striped ribbon. It really said vintage Halloween to me last year when I picked it up, so I definitely had to use it again this year. But we're just going to make another messy bow, so I'm using some twine. I'm just going to tie it super tight in the back. It's going to cinch up like this. You're going to fluff it out once you get your knot tied in here in the back. And so to fluff out a messy bow, you're just going to kind of flatten the middle part as best as you can to like fan out the other ribbons. And then I'm just going to dovetail all the ends again for our high end look. So for this bow, I decided to go ahead and wrap the middle a little bit. Once I got that wrapped with another piece of the ribbon, then I go ahead and I'm going to use a zip tie this time. So I dig through my wreath and I find the wreath form, and then what I did was I used my zip tie, went through the back of the bow, and then I cinched it on the other side. So I tighten it super tight here, and then I just fluff it out, and I go ahead and trim off any excess of the zip tie. So I decided to go ahead and make another ribbon to go at the bottom of this wreath, and I'm using some Halloween ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I haven't been lucky enough to find any more Dollar Tree Halloween ribbon. I did find some fall ribbon this year, but I didn't find any Halloween ribbon. So all I'm doing is my crisscross bow here again. If you missed my tutorial on how to do that from my last video, I will link that up here in the cards. But all we're doing is crisscrossing and then accordion folding, and then we're going to use some twine. I just wrap mine pretty tightly around the middle a few times, and then I tie it off in a knot on the back. Once I have it tied off is in the back, and then I go ahead and dovetail the ends, and then I'm going to fluff out the bow part. Now I use 2 ribbons here, which are like a witch's hat and then the Halloween pumpkin, and I wanted the witch's hat to show a little bit, so I did dovetail my pumpkin a little bit shorter than the witch's hat. But once I zip tie this one on, then this project is complete.
Wanna cry, just let it out. I'm by your side now. Just hold on a bit more, 'cause I know you only see the rain, not the rainbow. Deep down, I know you're strong. Give them
One of these unfinished wood blocks from the Dollar Tree, and I also picked up these faux leather leaves from the Dollar Tree. So I was super excited to find these because, like I said in my intro, I spent kind of a lot of money on these same faux leather leaves at Hobby Lobby last year, and so I was super excited to get these for $1.25. They're really fun to work with. So all we're going to do is kind of alternate our 2 types of leaves all along the bottom of this plank, and we're going to be creating a beard for our gnome. So I'm just using hot glue here. It does get kind of hot through that leather, but you're just going to go up to the desired amount of the plank that you want. Then I'm using a wooden bead from Amazon, and I'll link that down in the description. And then I'm going to add 2 of these, I think these are maple leaves, onto the side. I feel like these kind of make it look like a mustache. I thought it was so cute. Then I'm taking some fabric that I also got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to wrap it around the top of the plank. Hot glue it in place. This is going to be our hat, and I'm just going to kind of loop it over each other. I didn't cut any of this off. I just used the fabric square that came from the Dollar Tree, but you could trim this if you wanted to. Once I get that hot glued to the back, I'm going to flip it back around, and I'm going to gather the top of it into just I'm gathering it at the top, and then I'm using some twine, and I'm going to wrap that around the top to give it a cinch, and then I do go ahead and add 1 more of the leaves up at the top just to give it a little extra something, and then here it is, styled in some decor.
can't turn the tide. Let the water go where it wants to go. You can run and hide. You can bury yourself.
But I had picked up this little decor piece at Dollar Tree, and they're like Everyday Decor, and I also picked up this peel and stick wallpaper. So I went ahead and traced it onto the peel and stick wallpaper, and then I'm going to cut out each individual piece. Then I just kind of measured them to go into the center of the signs, and then once I had it to fit into the center, then I just peeled off the backing and stuck it into the middle of the sign. Then I took some wooden sticks. These came from Hobby Lobby, but I do have a similar item from Amazon that I'll link down in the description box. Once I get the stems glued to each section of this sign, then I decided to make some shabby bows. This ribbon came from Hobby Lobby and the Dollar Tree, and I just kind of alternated them between the burlap ribbon and the orange ribbon, and then I have the middle one to have the burlap ribbon on top, and then another one that has the orange ribbon on the top, and so I just alternated them. Once I get them glued to the stems, then I'm going to go ahead and add a little button there. I'm using cream colored buttons. I will link those down from Amazon as well. You can get quite a few. If you don't want to purchase them on Amazon, they do sell bundles of buttons at the Dollar Tree, and sometimes they have assorted colors. That's the one I like to pick up just because then you can use it for several different projects. Once I get these little buttons glued into the middle of our bows, then this project is complete, and here it is, styled in some decor.
You can run and hide. You can bury yourself beneath the stones. Somebody told me don't pretend, 'cause everyone could use a friend sometimes. Take some good advice.
Do you guys know what time it is? It's time to hit the like button. Don't forget, so YouTube knows, to send my video to more people so they can be inspired just like you. Let's get back to the DIYs. Up at the Dollar Tree Plus section, and then I'm going to use my half beads from Amazon. I will put a link down in my description box if you want to pick these up. They are definitely worth the price. I have used these on so many projects and I still have quite a few left, so they are definitely worth it. But all we're going to do is glue the beads in the middle pieces of the pumpkin, and then I'm going to take some white folk art chalk paint and I'm going to dry brush over my entire pumpkin along with the beads. So I left them natural looking, and then I'm just dry brushing them so they're not getting a full coverage of white on any part of that. Then I took some more fabric from the Dollar Tree and I just had some strips left over, and so I tied those strips around the center of the pumpkin and then added a couple other pieces, and here it is, styled in some decor.
Don't need to worry, somebody's waiting down the line. You pick up the pieces, hey, you'll be alright.
I picked up this sign at the Dollar Tree Plus section, and it was, I believe, $3. I also picked up these peel and stick wallpaper tiles, and I'm going to cover the sign with the tiles. Now, I had some problems creating this DIY when I traced out the pumpkin pattern on the back of the peel and stick tile. I didn't factor in that you were going to take off that black section there, so when I put my tile onto my sign, there is a little tiny section at the bottom that is not covered. I also traced on the back of my tile, which did not match up with my stems. Obviously, I should have traced that out on the front, but I continued to persevere through this project because I do think it's going to turn out really cute. I had one other mishap. I didn't cut it to fit on the right hand side all the way, so I had to cut an extra piece. You can kind of see it, but once I get the little bows on with my fabric, you can't even tell. So I do really love how this turned out. I definitely think I probably need a second try just to kind of perfect it a little bit, but I'm using that same fabric from the Dollar Tree, adding some little shabby bows at the top, and here it is, styled in some decor.
Take a breath. Let me be a part.
But I took this Dollar Tree crate and I'm going to use this birchwood garland that I got at Hobby Lobby. I got it last year in the Christmas section, so I hope they have it out again this year because I have used this a whole bunch and it's really versatile. I used it a lot for fall, and of course you can use it for Christmas, but all I'm going to do is take hot glue and glue it around this entire box. I absolutely love the way this looks when it's all completed. But this is a really simple project. So once we get it on there, we're going to add our floral foam, and then I took some florals that I got at the Dollar Tree this year. I got some yellow flowers, some orange flowers, a leaf pick, and I added each one of those into the box along with some little pumpkins, and here it is, styled in some decor.
Someone said it's better when you hold on to a helping hand. Sometimes we could all use a friend. Don't let your fears decide.
For this project, I'm going to be using one of those cutting boards that is new out at the Dollar Tree, and these are in the Crafter Square area. I'm going to paint the bottom with my pumpkin Waverly chalk paint, and then the top with some green Waverly chalk paint. I will list all of the products I'm using today down in the description box if you want to check them out, and if I'm able to find a link through Amazon for you to purchase them, I will do that as well. So once I get them both painted, then I'm going to go over the entire wood block with my Cashew Waverly chalk paint, and I'm going to give it a really good dry brush. So I'm going for a rustic look here. Then I'm going to take one of those little Dollar Tree sponge brushes and I'm going to add some polka dots. I was trying not to add too much paint there, but then I did need to have a good amount, so I got a really good polka dot. I'm going to go ahead and cover only the orange part with my polka dots. I do the front, back, and sides to make it look more cohesive. Once I get those all put on there, I do dry them with my heat gun just so I can keep going with the project. If you're not going to use a heat gun, you're going to need to let it dry a little bit because there is quite a bit of paint once you use that sponge brush. Then I'm going to go ahead and use some twine, and I'm going to cover, just wrap it around, I would say about 10 times, and then I go ahead and cut it, and then I'm going to add a bow here. I did decide to go back and use my Sharpie to go around the circles and add a few dots, and then this project is complete. For this project, we're going to be using one of the Dollar Tree ornaments that they put out for Halloween. We're using the ghost, and I'm covering it with some Cashew Waverly chalk paint. I am using this little like shadow box type thing that I picked up at Dollar General probably in February, I think it was, but they sell several of these like at the Dollar Tree as well. I just popped out the back, and I'm using my sanding block to get rid of all of the letters, and I did take off the 3D flower that was on there. So once I get that all taken off, I'm using a regular glue stick here, and I'm just going to glue my paper onto the back here, and then I'm going to pop it back into the frame. So I like to use a glue stick here. You guys tell me all the time, Mod Podge, I can use it with some water, which I'm going to do later in this video. But for here, I decided for the glue stick. So then I'm going to take my Sharpie again, and I'm just going to add some lines and some dots around the ghost. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue him back into, it's actually a girl ghost, I guess. But we're going to glue her back into the box. And I went ahead and used the thing that was popping out the flower for the 3D. I went ahead and glued that back in the box, and I'm just going to glue the ghost onto that piece. I added a purple bow to the top of her head where the hole was, and then this project is complete.
When we don't feel the same, we've come a long way. Don't ever let it change.
So I'm just popping in here to see how you're enjoying the video so far, and if you're liking it, to go down, hit that like button, and let's jump back into the projects. So I'm taking a wood cube that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to use some Pumpkin by Waverly chalk paint and cover the entire block. Once I get that covered, I'm using one of these wood stem pieces from the Dollar Tree. They come in a bag of like 10, 15 or so. I've used them a lot. I love the way they look for pumpkin stems. Then I'm going to go ahead and cover my whole block again with my Cashew Waverly chalk paint. I am obviously making a pumpkin here with this. I definitely think dry brushing before you glue the stem on. I don't know what I was thinking. I just was wanting to make a pumpkin. So once I get all of my paint dry brushed on there, then I'm going to take some raffia that I had in my stash. They do sell raffia at the Dollar Tree, also Hobby Lobby, Michael's, really anywhere. I love to use raffia. It definitely gives it a more country look. I'm just going to tie it into a knot at the top, and then I'm going to trim it off. Once I get it trimmed off, I feel like it still needs a little something, so my go-to for when I feel like it's missing something is always buttons. So I add 2 buttons here up at the top, and then this project is complete.
As long as I've got you, I'm not letting it fade. Don't go looking for reasons.
So I saw these treat bags at the Dollar Tree, and I thought that they would actually make a really cute banner, but I never actually made the banner, so they were just in my stash. I'm pretty sure they came out this year, but I thought that they would look really cute on the actual house cutout from the Dollar Tree. So that's what we're doing here. I just went ahead and traced it out on like I laid it on top of the bag, traced it out and cut it out, and now I'm applying it here to my wood block again with my glue stick. I'm just a creature of habit, guys. I promise I'm going to try the water technique later on in this video. But I go ahead and I just lay it on there, make sure it's on really good. I do go ahead and sand around all the edges to make sure that there are no hangovers. And then once I have that done, I decide to go ahead and add a bow to the top by the chimney. I thought this turned out so adorable. I think it's so fun to use like their gift cards, their gift bags. They have so many cute ones and you can do a lot of really fun things with them. But once I get the bow on there, then this project is complete.
Asking for change. We got good things coming. Put your faith in me.
So we're making a book stack here, and I'm just using actually 3 individual pieces of spare wood. You can also use the crates that they have at Dollar Tree. I've made a lot of book stacks with those crates and they turn out amazing. I just covered them in each of the paint colors I showed there at the beginning: gold, like a sage, and a blue. Some colors I've been really loving for fall this year. I wrapped some twine around them and I'm just gluing that twine down at the bottom. I did feel like this twine made them a little wobbly just because it ends up being a little bulky there on the side. I do love how it looks though, so I don't mind because it's just sitting in my tray. But if you're sitting these out, you know, just be mindful they might be a little crooked. Once I get that twine glued around the book stack, I decide to go ahead and add a leaf. So this leaf is one of those cutouts that they have for the ornaments. I'd already covered it with paper for a separate DIY, and once I get that glued to the top up here, then this project is complete. This project is more of a hack than a DIY, but I'm taking one of those boxes from the Dollar Tree, and I had these leftover black beads. You could also just use anything that was black that's going to stick out here, but I'm just going to glue them to the sides to give it the Frankenstein look. And then I took some black felt from the Dollar Tree. I just stuff it in here to give him some hair, and then this project is complete. So for this project, I found this like wood hanging piece over in the like toy area of Dollar Tree. I'm just going to use the wood part, and I'm taking a napkin that they had out for the fall season. I cut out the pattern that they had, and these were like the long rectangle napkins. So here it is. I'm going to try the technique you guys keep telling me. I have a feeling that I didn't do it correctly, but I put my Mod Podge on the actual wood piece. Then I'm taking the water and I'm spraying it on the napkin, and then I'm going to put the napkin onto the Mod Podge. So I will say that this turned out at least a lot better than like some of my other decoupage have turned out. I love to use napkins because they seem to be a tad bit more forgiving than like the paper for some reason. I don't get as many wrinkles, but I did actually really like the water technique. I'm going to try it again. I did end up with a few little snags and wrinkles in there, but they're not ones that you can totally see. So once I get it all on there and dried, I do go ahead and spray just a tiny bit more water on it, and then I just sort of press it down. I don't actually move it just because I don't want to tear the napkin. But I really love this project, and I really loved how this turned out. So thank you everyone who commented on my other videos telling me to try this. I will definitely keep trying it with paper next time. So I'm taking some of that fake leather ribbon that they had at Dollar Tree. I glued it to the back to look like a hanger, and then I'm taking some of that vase filler, gluing it to the front so that they look like knots, and then this project is complete.
As long as I got
So I'm taking one of those wood blocks from the Dollar Tree. I covered it with some Cashew Waverly chalk paint, and now I'm dry brushing some Pumpkin Waverly chalk paint on the top. I am using some water slide Hippo decal paper. This stuff is amazing. The company sent it to me a couple of videos ago. I tried it out. I loved it. I made some potion bottles with it. If you missed that video, there is a full tutorial on how to use the paper, and I will link that up here in the cards and in my description box, but it's amazing. So this is a free printable that I printed out on that paper. I just slid it over here, let it dry. Then I'm going to take some raffia, glue it up at the top where the hole is, and then this project is complete. Little house came from a garage sale. If you don't have a little house like this, they also have those house cutouts at the Dollar Tree, which would work perfect for this project as well, and they also fit in the tiered tray. I used one earlier in this video, but all I'm going to use is my glue stick, put a generous amount of glue there on the front, and I'd already traced this ahead of time, so I cut it out and I'm just gluing it to the front. I did not repaint this because I just picked some paper that kind of matched the paint that was already there, and then I just covered up the image that was there. So this paper is from Hobby Lobby. It's in a fall paper pack that they have over there. It's amazing. If you missed the paper cone wreath that I made with this paper pack, I will list that up in the cards here, but it was amazing and the paper is gorgeous. So once I get that twine, I just wrap it around the house. I go ahead and glue it in place in the back, and then I took some of the little pine cones and pumpkins that they had in a potpourri set at the Dollar Tree, and I just sort of arranged it there to my liking. I think I added like 2 pine cones and a couple of the pumpkins. The pumpkins were adorable. I thought I had never seen little tiny pumpkins like that, and anyway, they're adorable. So I go ahead and I just kind of arrange them in a way that I like, and then this project is complete. So for this project, I'm using one of those mason jar signs they have at the Dollar Tree. I went ahead and removed the twine, and then I'm using my sanding block, and I'm just going to get all the glitter off. So one of the most underused items I think at the Dollar Tree are their cards. Like, they have some pretty amazing cards there for $1. These were out for Halloween. I'm going to use another one in this project, or in this video as well, but this one said trick or treat, and I just went ahead and traced around the front of the card with the mason jar, and then I cut it out, and then I'm going to go ahead and just glue it to the front here. This one was like a doubled image, like there was a paper image and then the actual 3D cutout. I did go ahead and glue both of those on there, and then I'm going to go ahead and just attach the twine that was already wrapped around this mason jar. I glue it in the back, I wrap it around, and I didn't quite put it in the right place in the back, so I have some excess. No worries, I just fold it back over and glue it down, and you can't even tell. So I decide the top is missing something. I add a few orange buttons because they are my go-to filler, and then this project is complete. So I feel like I've done the most painting I've done in quite some time in this video, but this is one of those cars from the toy section over at Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to paint the tires black, and then I'm painting the whole truck green. So I did glue the tires against one side of the car, that way they weren't moving around and it was much easier to paint. Since it's sitting in a tiered tray, I didn't think it would really make that big of a difference. So once I get get the green paint on there, I go over the entire thing with some Cashew Waverly chalk paint. And I have to tell you guys a funny, so when I was painting this, my son was kind of in the room with me, and he's like, "Oh wow, you're making it look vintage." And then he's like, "You know what, Mom? I really thought that all of the paint was just chipped off of there." He didn't realize it was actually painted on, which made me feel good because it obviously looks vintage. So then I'm taking these pumpkin picks that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. I just removed the pumpkin parts off of the top, and I'm going to hot glue them onto the truck. So I just do like various patterns. It looks like it's carrying them. I thought that those little tiny orange pumpkins were so adorable out of that potpourri kit that I decided to add a couple of those orange ones here into the truck. If you're recreating this, I think it looks super cute just with the cream colored ones, but I don't know, I just had I fell in love with those little tiny pumpkins. But once I get those all glued on, then this project is complete. So for this project, we're using one of the shadow boxes from Dollar Tree. I did go ahead and pop off the 3D item that was in there. And then we're going to use some scrapbook paper. This was from like a scrapbooking calendar, I think. But you can pick up lots of really fun scrapbook paper over at Hobby Lobby. And even if you pay full price, it's like 59 cents, which is a pretty good deal. Once I have that cut out and glued on, I go ahead and pop it back into the frame, and I don't paint the frame this time because my paper was black and white, so I felt like it went really well with the outside of the frame, but you could totally paint that if you wanted to. So these Happy Halloween cutouts were new this year at Hobby Lobby at Dollar Tree, and at least they were new to my store. So I picked them up. I think there's like 3 to a pack, and we're just going to cover them this one piece with the Pumpkin Waverly chalk paint, and then I go ahead and go over it with my Cashew Waverly chalk paint for the dry brushing. So this was inspired by like some high-end decor stores, or I see like they have those 3D shadow boxes where there is something like kind of popping out of it. We're going to glue these on the edges only, and then this project is complete. So this is more of a hack than a DIY, but you can pick up any of the Dollar Tree picture frames and add scrapbook paper, or you can add gift bags or anything like that, and it makes a super cute decor idea for a really cheap. This one I went ahead and turned back over. You could leave it just with the scrapbook paper. I decided to add another one of those leaves that I had already done with a coordinating paper from the paper pack. I just glued it to the front on the side like it's popping out, and then this project is complete.
No matter where we go, no matter where it ends.
So this hack is really easy. All you're going to do is take one of those Halloween signs that they had in the 2-pack. I used some tumbling tower blocks, I think 3 of them. I glued it together, painted it black, and glued it to the back for a stand. I took another one of those black baubles, that's kind of a vase filler, filled in the hole, and then this project is complete. So this project is one of those rolling pins. I've only made like one other set of rolling pins during the summertime. I made a whole lemon vignette, and that is, I made some rolling pins to go with it. But all I did was paint the ends with my green Waverly chalk paint, and using some more of that fall paper pack from Hobby Lobby, I'm going and gluing this pumpkin paper around the rolling pin. So I just measure, it's nothing technical, I just wrap it around and then I go ahead and glue it on there using my hot glue gun, and then I'm going to go ahead and add some raffia. I tie the raffia in a shoelace bow, and then once I tie the shoelace bow, I go ahead and glue it onto the rolling pin, and then I decide that it needs a little bit more, obviously. That's me with my buttons, so I get out the buttons and I glue some buttons into the middle of my raffia bow, and then this project is complete.
No matter where we go, no matter where it ends, as long as I've got you, I'm not letting it.
So I already had this crate that was painted with white Waverly chalk paint and then distressed with some antique Waverly wax. I went ahead and took another one of those greeting cards, removed the pumpkin from the top, and then I put a generous amount of hot glue, glue it into the middle of this crate, and then this project is complete.
We've come a long way. Don't ever let it change.
I've been really inspired lately by Country Charm by Tracy on YouTube. If you've never seen her channel, I'll link it down in the description box. But she is an amazing tool painter. She also does a lot of rustic DIYs, which is kind of my thing as well. So I've been crushing on her, and she's been really inspiring me to try and get out of my comfort zone a little bit. I'd always wanted to take tool painting classes, and so I feel like she's inspiring me to at least give it a try. So for this project, I covered this wood round from the Dollar Tree with some Pumpkin by Waverly chalk paint. Then I just measured to the middle of the circle, and I'm using this stencil to give my wood round a pumpkin face. This stencil I picked up at a garage sale several years ago, but you can find any kind of pumpkin face stencils online as well. But in her projects, she uses a lot of Sharpie, where she goes around and traces her designs, and so I was like really inspired to do that for this video. I did it with a ghost earlier too. So if you go check out her channel, let her know that I sent you over there. I just really love her stuff. So I took some black ribbon from the Dollar Tree, made a little simple bow because we're making a cute girly pumpkin here. I glued it to the top, and then this project is complete. So today's video was made with all stuff that I already had around my house or in my stash, and I can't believe I was able to come up with all 20 projects without buying anything. My husband has surprised me with a crafting studio, and now I can have all of my supplies in one area, and I can't even begin to tell you guys how much money that's saving me and how much stuff I didn't even realize I had. I will post that in my Instagram stories here pretty soon so you guys can take a look at what he created for me. It's amazing. So this project was just super simple. I took some scrap wood I had in my garage. I painted it with some gold acrylic spray paint, covered the front with some more of that scrapbook paper from that scrapping packet that I got at Hobby Lobby. I'm using another one of those little wood rounds that I also picked up at the Dollar Tree. That packet of wood little pieces, I used one package for all the projects in today's video. Then I took some raffia, I wrapped it around. I'm going to trim it off a little bit, and then this project is complete. So this project was super simple. I just took one of those black little plastic cauldrons from the Dollar Tree that comes in like a 6-pack, and some of those vase filler. These are the green, and it's more like gold. It looks green here, but it's really gold. But they're golden brown. I just glue them all around my pot here. If you can see over in the side, my kitty came to visit. His name is actually Kitty, if you didn't see that in my Instagram story. But I'm just going to go ahead and glue them all around this cauldron, and then this project is complete. So this project is another piece of scrap wood. I'm just covering it with some Cashew Waverly chalk paint, and I had picked up this like wood wrapping, I guess you would say, at Hobby Lobby when there was a clearance sale. I did make a wreath out of this same material, and I'll link that video up here in the cards. But I kept this together, and all I'm going to do is glue it to the front of this wood block. So it just happened to be pretty much the exact size that I needed. I'm going to glue it there, and then I have a small gap up at the top. I glue one of those wood pieces again up to the top, and then I took some Spanish moss and I'm just kind of filling in where I had the gap between the wood pieces and the actual wood block. Once I get the Spanish moss all glued around there, then this project is complete. This project is super simple. We're going to start with a picture frame from the Dollar Tree. This is one I had in my stash, and I had already spray painted it with white spray paint for another project. So all I'm going to do is cover it with some ink Waverly chalk paint, one coat. You can pick up white picture frames at the Dollar Tree if you don't have one on hand. Then I picked up these super cute banners in the Halloween area, and all I did was put down the backing of the frame, trace around our banner, and cut it out. Once I get the banner cut out, I'm just going to place it back into the picture frame like a regular picture and put down the little tab things. Then I'm going to turn the frame around, and I'm going to be using these brooms that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. They come in a package of 2. I did get these last year, but I did see them this year again. All I'm going to do is put a dollop of glue right there and glue it sideways onto the picture frame. When you glue it on, make sure that the bottom of the broom is flush with the bottom of the frame so that when you stand it up, it's not going to fall over, and then this project is complete. For this project, I'm using these 2 pieces of wood that I picked up in the Crafter Square area at my Dollar Tree. They were brand new. If you missed my other video with the brand new wood items I found, I'll link that up here in the cards and in my description box. But I hadn't seen these before, so if you're not someone that has a lot of scrap wood around your house, these would work perfect. So Crafts by Caitlin makes these hanging signs a lot with the wood on the top and the bottom, and I'd never made one before, and I thought I would try it out. I thought this other burlap hanging sign that I got at the Dollar Tree would make a perfect one of those signs. So I'm doing kind of the same thing. I cut off the top, and then I'm going to measure here with my piece of wood to cut off the bottom. So I didn't notice till I started to do the voiceover that I measured this kind of crooked, but it really doesn't matter because your wood is going to cover up any like crookedness that you've cut your burlap. But just make sure you know that your wood piece is straight before you measure. So I'm going to cut off this bottom triangle, and then I'm going to take these 2 pieces of wood and I'm going to glue one to the top and one to the bottom just using my hot glue gun. So all I did was put some glue at the top, lay it down on my piece of wood, and attach it just like that to both ends of the wood. Once I have that completed, I'm going to go ahead and use some twine, and I'm going to create a hanger in the back. So when I created my hanger, I didn't realize I glued it into the middle of this sign, thinking that that would have my sign hang evenly, and it turned out to hang slightly crooked. So just make sure that before you glue down your hanger that you have it hanging straight, and then this project is complete. So for all the projects today, we're going to be using this paper pack that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. It is by Paper Studio, and so it did happen to be on sale this week. I know they go through a cycle where it's like every other week, so you can wait maybe a week or so, check it out, and then you can get it for half off as well. So I just picked out about 8 different sheets of paper, and these first set of cones that we're going to make, I'm going to cut into 6x6 squares. You get 4 squares out of each piece of paper. They look kind of small at first. I was like, but actually they work out just fine. So then I'm using some foam board from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just creating a circle. Mine ends up being more of an oval, really. It's not quite a full circle shape, but it doesn't really matter. No one's going to see the underneath side of it. If you're worried about it being a perfect circle, you could always trace something, but then you're going to draw a circle inside as well. So once I got those all cut out, and I took the scrapbook paper that I had cut out, and all I did was roll it into a cone shape. I'm using hot glue here, and I'm just gluing down the bottom of the cone, and then I'm going to glue the bottom edges together. So there's going to be some spaces up towards the top, but we want the bottom part where the coney type shape is to be flush together down there. So we're just going to follow that line of the circle, and we're going to go all around the foam piece. So I'm just showing you, like you can see here, that there is some big spaces in between. The thing that I kind of got my inspiration from online, it said that they just glued smaller pieces on top of those. I didn't really like that, so what I did was, once I got the full cone circle glued on, I just went back in with some hot glue and some more of this sized cone shapes, and I just filled them in through all the spaces that were showing. So then when I'm all done, I won't have any space here. I used about, I would say, 19 to 20 cone shapes, and my circle was about 14 inches in diameter. So you could go a smaller size here if you want. So here I'm just showing you how I rolled it up. The tighter you roll it, the more of a cone shape you get. And again, I just used hot glue, and I only glued the tail of the paper on to the rest of the paper. I didn't put any other kind of adhesive there. So these are 4x6 pieces of paper that I rolled into the cone shape as well, and then I'm just gluing those on top of the other cones. So we have more dimension here, and I went about every 2 cones, I glued another cone on top. Now I'm taking this pumpkin that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, and I'm using some folk art chalk paint, and I'll list down in the description box which paints I used, and I'll have a link to Amazon if you can get them there. But I'm using kind of non-traditional colors here just because my scrapbook paper had some more blues and greens in it, so I thought it would be fun to make my pumpkin a blue and green color as well. So I have the green color kind of on the underneath side, and then the blue as the cutout pops here in this piece of wood. So this, like I said, did come from the Dollar Tree. I think this is a really nice wood piece. They have really some great pieces out this fall at the Dollar Tree as far as like decorating goes. Some really fun fall and Halloween pieces. So make sure you go check that out. So this ribbon also came from the Dollar Tree. It's one of my favorite patterns that they bring out every year. I just do a crisscross, and then I fold, and then I'm going to take some twine and I'm going to wrap it around the middle of the bow, and then I tie it in a knot. So it gives it a really tight look, and you get a really fun bow shape, and it's not really difficult to make. You can hot glue the middle as well. The only thing about hot gluing it down in the middle is then you really need to put something over the top of it, because it's pretty noticeable when you use the hot glue as opposed to the twine, because once we tie it really tight here in the middle, it really doesn't need anything to sit on top of it unless you want there to be something on top of it. And for this bow, I didn't glue anything into the center of it. So I'm going to cut off the twine. I do go ahead and dovetail my ends, and then I'm going to use my hot glue to glue it onto the top of the pumpkin. So my scissors were getting kind of dull, and I didn't realize that when I dovetailed them. So it's a little bit of a rustic dovetail, if that's even a thing, but I just went ahead and went with it. So I just glue that bow to the top, and then we're going to take this pumpkin wood cutout and we're going to glue it to the top of our cones. So where our cone wreath had the hole in the middle, We are going to take this pumpkin and just using hot glue, we're going to sit it. You don't have to smash it because remember this is paper. So you're just going to sit it kind of gently onto the paper and press down. Now these cones are a really tight hold on this foam board, so you should have a really good hold. I do go ahead and put a piece of twine on the back, and then this project is complete.
I wanna do it all with you by my side. If you're in, meet me here tonight. Be brave and come along. I'll be your ride. Promise we don't need no brake lights. We can travel the world, so just say yes.
So I've never made a paper wreath before. Let me know down in the comments if you've ever made a paper wreath. I want to try rosettes next time. I saw some really cool ideas online that had some rosette wreaths, and I'd never seen something like that before. So I want to try that maybe in a future video. Let me know if you're loving the idea of paper and wreaths or just paper projects in general, and I'll see if I can come up with some more of those. Let me know down in the comments maybe what you would like to see using scrapbook paper. If you're loving the projects today, make sure you hit that like button. It really helps my video be seen by other people. And let's get back to the other projects. This is a really simple technique. All I'm doing is taking ribbon and wrapping it around the wreath form. This is a 12-inch wreath form from the Dollar Tree, and this is also Dollar Tree ribbon. So this took me about a roll and a half of ribbon to cover this whole metal wreath frame. I'm also going to take a foam green wreath form from the Dollar Tree. That is a mouthful, and I'm going to cover it with this brown and orange plaid ribbon and do the same technique, and then I just glued one on top of the other. So then I took some picks from the Dollar Tree, I cut them all apart, and I'm using some twine, and I'm just going to tie them into a bundle. That way I don't have the bottom stems to worry about when I glue it onto my wreath, and then I get a full bundle but without all the excess stuff. So then I'm just going to place it where I want it to be, and then I'm just going to put a generous amount of hot glue on the back, and then I'm going to press firmly onto the wreath. So it did have to hold it here for a little bit just to make sure that it was stuck on there. So then I took these leaf and acorn cutouts that they have at the Dollar Tree. They are like a garland that you can do or make ornaments out of them, and I'm just going to cover them with some scrapbook paper from my scrapbook pack. All I did was trace around and glue it on top, and then I'm going to make another simple bow. This is another ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I do fold it in half, and then I accordion it together, and then again using my twine I'm just going to wrap it around the middle so that I have something to hold on to, and then I just tie it in a really tight knot. Once I get it all tied up like that, I'm going to go ahead and take my scissors and dovetail the ends, and then I glue it onto the top of the bundle. And then I'm going to take the little cutouts that I covered with the scrapbook paper, and I'm going to glue them underneath this ribbon. I decided that some of the glue was showing from where I glued both of the wreath forms together, so I took some nautical rope and I'm just going to wrap it around where the two wreath forms come together, and then this project is complete.
Whatever comes next. This or that. Getting drunk on whiskey on a Tuesday night. A drinking red wine by an open fire. Make love or fight. This or that. This or that.
So this is a wreath upcycle. I used to have this wreath hanging in my classroom when I taught elementary, but I don't teach elementary anymore, and so I don't have an apple theme. So I decided to just remove all the apples, but keep the raffia and ribbon at the top. So I'm using these Dollar Tree pumpkins. These are amazing. If you can find them in your store, I highly recommend picking them up. I wish I could have found more, but I wasn't lucky enough to. So I'm using my same folk art chalk paint, and I'm just going to cover both of the pumpkins with the chalk paint. So as you see, normally you would trace on the outside, but if I were to flip this pumpkin over, there's a lip there, and when I traced it, I wouldn't have the exact shape that I was looking for. So instead, I just decided to put it on top and trace it out. You're going to have a good lip on the paper when you glue it on, because like I said, there is like a space between there, but that's okay because we're going to use our sanding block and sand it off. So I'm just using a regular Elmer's glue stick. I find that it sticks on the scrapbook paper just fine to wood, and then you don't have all of the wrinkles from Mod Podge. So I just go ahead and make sure that I cover the entire piece with my glue stick, and because I'm a teacher and kind of a glue snob, I only use the Elmer's glue brand. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and glue the piece of paper on and make sure that it's totally dry before I start sanding. So make sure, you can see my paper was kind of moving there, so just make sure you're pulling your sanding block towards you and not away from you. So I'm going to do all this sanding around the side where there is again a lip, but there's like an edge there. You can see as I'm sanding that you can see part of the edge. You want to sand that really good, and once you get you can start to see like it's coming apart, you can just pick up the paper and peel it off. And that's what I love the most about using this sanding technique, especially if there's a lip. You can just peel off the paper and keep going. It gives you a really smooth edge. I'm going to do that for both pumpkins. Then I'm going to take some raffia. This also came from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to tie a little shoelace bow, and I'm going to glue some raffia to the top of both of these pumpkins. I think these turned out so adorable. Let me know down in the comments if you're into traditional colors, or do you like kind of non-traditional fall colors. I'll put a video up above here from last year that I did some pumpkins that were non-traditional colors. I'm into blue, so that's what I always tend to pick, but you can check out the ceramic pumpkins I painted last year right here. So here we are, we're gluing our raffia on, and this is just simple, nothing fancy. You could add buttons here if you wanted, or any other kind of picks here onto it. I wanted the scrapbook paper to be the star of the show, so that's why I just used raffia. So the last step to this is just to glue it to the grapevine wreath, and then this project is complete.
Evenings on the train or catch a morning flight. Enjoying dinner until midnight. Or in bed by night. This or wanna see it all. Find the northern lights, see the stars in the open wild. Catch a
This is one of the calendar pages from the 2021 calendar. I wasn't lucky enough to get the calendars this year, even though I went to like 20 Dollar Trees when I was in Albuquerque. I still wasn't even able to find one calendar. Let me know down in the description box if you are feeling my pain. So I went ahead and put some Mod Podge on this wooden sign, and the wooden sign came from Hobby Lobby. I then sprayed some water on top of it in my little spray bottle. These are really handy. I picked them up at the Dollar Tree. And then once it was dry, I took some sandpaper, also from the Dollar Tree, and I just sanded off the edges. I like to use the sanding block, but mine needed to be replaced. Then I'm going to go ahead and make a shabby bow, and this is just some fabric from the Dollar Tree, some ribbon I had on hand, and then the gray and off-white ribbon is from burlapfabric.com. It's a linen ribbon, so it's actually like a higher weighted ribbon. It's not wired, it's just heavier, and it's really good to work with. I enjoyed working with it in this video. If you want to check it out, I'll have a link down in my description box for burlap fabric. So I made 2 of these, and then I'm just using some hot glue around the stem area, and I'm going to glue the shabby bow right there in where the stem is, and then here it is styled in some decor. Picture frame over in the fall decor at Dollar Tree. I'm just going to go ahead and take out the middle part and remove the little paper part that was in there. Once I have that all removed, I'm ready to give it a good coat of paint. So I'm using a stain here. I just added some water to some green paint, and I'm going to go ahead and paint the entire apple part with that color. I really love how this turned out, and I just love the look of green apples. So I don't know, I really loved how the mixture of the water and the paint looked. So to give it a little bit of a yellow feel, I decided to dry brush it with a light yellow acrylic paint, and I'm just going to go over the entire apple with that yellow color. This ends up turning out really beautiful as far as textures and the color goes. So I'm using some more of my burlapfabric.com ribbon, and I cut this one in half and made some smaller pieces here, and I'm just going to tie it around the stem. I added a picture of us at the Balloon Fiesta in Albuquerque, which is in October, which was also fall related, so I thought it was appropriate, and here it is, styled in some decor.
You gotta let me know if I'm out of line. But there's some words that I just wanna hear you say.
Box that I got at Michael's, and I'm giving it a good stain. This is just my brown acrylic paint mixed with water, and then I let it dry. If you can see my paper down below, you definitely want to have paper down when you're using this like watercolor technique because it can get pretty messy. So then for the apple, I colored the leaf with that same green and watered down paint, and then the stem with some more brown stain. Then I'm going to go ahead and do the same technique with my red paint, and I'm going to cover the entire apple with that color. Once I let it dry, then we're just going to go ahead and apply some hot glue here with another little bow. This one is just a piece of leftover jeans that I've cut into a little tiny strip. I'm going to make an awareness bow, so I just fold it over and then I add a little bit more hot glue here. We're ready to add a little embellishment in the middle, and as you guys know, I absolutely love my buttons, so a button is going to go here in the middle. My buttons come from Buttons Galore, and I will leave a link down to their website or either Amazon if I can find them on Amazon. So I had some of these wood rounds. I just went ahead and glued one to the bottom of the box, glued my apple on top, and here it is, styled in some decor.
Yes, I'm on my way. A bit naive.
For this project, we're going to make a recipe holder, and I had actually used this frame as a recipe holder before with a different recipe. I will link that video down in my description box if you want to check out the recipe DIYs I did a couple summers ago. But I'm just going to take this fabric. It was from the Dollar Tree, and this is just a piece of cardstock that was in the frame. I'm just going to cover it with my fabric using some hot glue. I'm just going to glue it onto my piece of paper. I didn't have the insert to this frame, but if you had the insert to a frame, you could definitely cover the insert instead. So once I get all the sides hot glued, I just kind of make it pretty taut so that it is not like showing any of the paper on the other side. And then once I get that all glued, I had one side that didn't have enough to fold over. So all I did was take some hot glue and glue that right down to the piece of fabric, as you can see here. I love the Dollar Tree fabric. I say that in almost every video, but I love my shabby bows. You guys love my shabby bows, and so definitely be looking at Dollar Tree for when their fabric comes out because you want to get all the really fun patterns. So once I had that glued in there, I took another one of these little apples and I painted it that same way that I did the last one. It's red with the green and brown, and I'm just going to attach that there at the corner. I'm also going to make another little shabby bow with my burlap fabric ribbon, and then my green ribbon was just some that I had in my stash. I believe it is scrapbooking ribbon actually, but you can find all of those skinny ribbons at Hobby Lobby, and they are often 50% off, so they are a great deal. You spend about $2.50 maybe, and you get a really huge roll. So then I'm going to take one of these tiny clothespins, and I'm just going to glue that right to the fabric at the top of our frame. This is a recipe that is my mom's apple pie, so I just went ahead and I hand wrote it because I think that adds a little bit more of a personal touch. I made one more shabby bow with all my really fun fabrics and ribbon, and then here it is, styled in some decor.
Now's the time to reap what I've sown. Your words echoing in every single bone. Underwater, so far.
Use my red acrylic paint with water again. I stained the entire block, and these came from Hobby Lobby. If you're lucky enough to find the ones at Dollar Tree, you can use those too. These come in a pack of I think 2, and they are in the unfinished wood area. So then I used my stick, and I get these in a big old pack during Christmas time at Hobby Lobby, and it is 40% off now, so if you can find the pack of sticks, they last a long time. I use them all through the fall season and the Christmas season, so they are a great deal. I made one more tiny jean bow that I tied at the stem, and here it is, styled in some decor.
Yes, I'm on my way. This pain is not of the ordinary. Every time that
So for this project, we're going to use a mason jar and some leaves from the Dollar Tree, and I did go ahead and use one full package of leaves on this jar. So I'm using hot glue today to glue my leaves onto the jar. Another option here would be Mod Podge if you wanted to do that. I highly suggest, if you're going to use Mod Podge, that you cover the back of the leaf first and then you put the Mod Podge on top of that. That way it gives it a more secure hold. I thought hot glue was working just fine for me, so that's why I decided to do that. If you wanted your kids to help you with this project, definitely Mod Podge might be the way to go. But once I get all the leaves on, I just kind of go staggered around to give it a more fall look so I don't have all the same colors in one area. I took some of this green raffia that also came from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to securely tie it in a knot at the front and then use some scissors to clip off my raffia that is too long. This project would be really great with one of those tea lights from the Dollar Tree inside, or you could also use some flameless candles from Amazon. The ones I had were slightly too big to fit into the jar, but I then took some of the green leaves from that same package, glued them to the front, and then this project is complete. I'm not gonna lie, I've bought this item several times at the Dollar Tree and it always gets stuck in my stash and I never use it because I'm really not sure what to do with it. So this year I thought it would be super fun to create some DIYs showing you how to use this overlooked item at the Dollar Tree. If you're loving the DIYs today, I would love if you went down and hit that like button. It really helps this video be seen by other people. And let's get back to the video. For this project, we're going to be creating a leaf bowl, and I'm going to start out by just putting a piece of saran wrap over the bottom of a bowl that I've turned upside down. Then I'm going to put some Mod Podge on my paintbrush, and I'm going to paint on the Mod Podge to one side of my leaf. So I chose to put the back side of the leaf down on the paper, so when my bowl is completed, I have the back side of the leaf on the inside of the bowl. If you're wanting the front side of the leaf to be on the inside of your bowl, then you would just paint the leaves and put the back side of the leaf facing you. That way the front side of the leaf will be on the inside of the basket. For me, I didn't really care either way because if you put anything in the basket, you won't be able to tell which side was the bottom or the top. So I'm just doing the same technique throughout this whole process, and it does take me one package of the leaves to cover this whole saran wrap. Now this is a really easy project, it's just time consuming. So here we have it all glued on to the first piece of saran wrap, and all I'm going to do next is put another piece of saran wrap over the top of it, and I'm going to pull slightly. That way I'm getting a good firm seal on my Mod Podge because I want that to kind of set in for a little while. So I'm going to go ahead and sit this outside for about 4 hours, and then we'll see what it looks like here after 4 hours. So here it is. We're going to remove the first piece of the saran wrap. If you just choose to sit it outside and not take off the saran wrap, it increases the drying time by quite a bit. So you're going to want to let a certain amount of time go by just to kind of set it in. Then remove your top layer of saran wrap. I'm going to leave the bottom layer of the saran wrap on, and I'm going to let it sit for another 4 hours. in a warm place. So in my case, I did go ahead and put it out in the garage because it was starting to get later in the day. So I go ahead and I wait another 4 hours, and then I've removed the other piece of the saran wrap. I just go ahead and sit it in the bowl to let it continue drying, and then this project is complete.
Not long ago you got hurt, someone did you wrong. I can see it in your eyes, it's like your fire is gone. Across your face, it is written across your face. If you wanna talk, I'm right here, not gonna leave.
So you guys know I love a good cone tree. I am using a styrofoam cone that I've spray painted with some brown satin Rust-Oleum spray paint. If you wanted to do this project with a paper cone, that would work just fine as well. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, and if you've watched any of my other videos, I've also used party hats from the Dollar Tree in lieu of a cone, and those work just as well. I'll post that video up here above if you want to see the Christmas trees I made out of the party hats. Anyway, I'm just using the same package of leaves, and I'm just going to glue them all the way down this tree. So what I did was I glued on the top leaves, and then I just started alternating the colors going around the cone, and I'm gluing them underneath the leaf above them. I do not put that much glue on the leaves. I'm only putting it on the edge where I'm going to glue it, and the rest of it I leave without glue because it kind of fluffs up, and I like the way that it looks like with the fluffiness of the leaves. Now it's totally up to you. If you wanted to glue your whole leaf down, you could totally do that as well. And if you're using a paper cone, you know, you might need more or less of the leaves. But here it is about halfway completed, and like I said, I'm just going around with various colors just to give it a really fun look. Now you could stop here if you wanted. I'm trimming off the very bottom because I'm not sitting this on top of anything other than like a table. So if I were to just sit it down, it would be hanging over, and that kind of bothered me. But if that doesn't bother you, or you're going to stick it on like a candle holder or something like that, you can totally let these pieces hang down. I went ahead and cut them off, and then I fluff out the leaves to give it a more fluffier look. I think this is super cute just the way it is. The top of mine, I tried to glue the leaves on top first, and so I have a little bit of glue residue there, and I didn't like that, so I decided to go ahead and add some more embellishments here. But if you didn't have that at the top, you could totally leave it like that. So I decided to take these little berries from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to stick them in periodically throughout the tree, and all I'm doing is putting the stem underneath the leaves and gluing it there. This is super simple, and I just thought that it needed a little something, and so this was fun and also came from the Dollar Tree. So once I get those all glued into the tree, I'm taking some more of my raffia. I'm just going to tie a regular shoelace bow with my raffia, and you'll see here that I tie it pretty tight because I don't want it to come apart. So I pull on the two ends super tightly to give it a nice bow shape, and then I'm just going to take my scissors and trim off the edges because this is going to sit at the top of my tree. And all I'm going to do is hot glue that into the middle of the top. Then I decided to go ahead and take these leaves that came with the berries, and I'm going to glue them periodically throughout the tree, kind of where I have the berries situated. I did glue another leaf in the middle of the bow at the top, and then this project is complete.
It's like your fire is gone. Across your face, it is written across your face. If you wanna talk, I'm right here, not gonna leave your side. Just feel free to open up when the moment's right. Across your face.
For this DIY, we're going to use some cotton stems that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to, of course, be using our maple leaves again. I'm going to take 2 different colors of leaves and I'm going to glue them at the base of each one of the cotton pods. If you're looking at my pic here, you can see I have a piece that's kind of sticking out that has nothing by it. There should have been a cotton pod there as well. It could have fallen off or might not have even been there when I purchased it, and so I do go ahead and glue some leaves there as well because it was part of the stem. Something I want to note here is that I kind of felt like I put too many leaves on my stems, and when I trimmed them, one of them was just a little bit too short and I felt like it was too busy. So if you're going to recreate this, go ahead and only glue on 1 leaf at a time at the base of the cotton pod, and then you can kind of decide if that's enough for you, and then if you don't feel like it's enough, then start adding that second leaf. But that way, you know, you don't have to regret it later if you don't like having both of the leaves there. So once I get those glued on to the cotton stems, all I'm going to do to style this is to put it in a vase, and the vase that I'm going to be using today is a DIY that I've done previously, and I'm going to show you that here in a second, but it's just a vase from the Dollar Tree that I wrapped around some nautical rope at the bottom and used some white rocks inside as a filler. So I just wrapped it around 6 times if you're wanting to recreate that, added the white rocks from the craft department at Dollar Tree, and then I'm going to add the pick here, and then this project is complete.
If you wanna go out, we can go out. You can hide away just for one night. But if you wanna cry, just let it out. I'm by your side now.
The Dollar Tree foam pumpkin, remove the stem, and then we're going to cover it with some Cashew Waverly chalk paint. I took about 2 coats to cover the whole pumpkin. Then I took these corn husks that I got from Hobby Lobby. They come in a really large package. I think I spent $6 on them because they are half off right now. And at first I started to glue them from just the top, like I was going around in a circle, but then I decided there's no reason why you can't glue them from the top to the bottom. So I went ahead and started gluing both sides of them down. You're going to want to find the biggest ones out of the package. You can use the smaller ones to kind of fill in any extra spaces if you want to, but you're going to cover the entire pumpkin, and I just used hot glue on both ends of the pumpkin. Then I had got this birchwood garland, I think last year at Hobby Lobby in the Christmas section. I glued 2 pieces of that together to make my stem, and then I have some raffia. I glued that at the bottom of the stem, and then I got these cute little corns at Hobby Lobby. They come in a package of, I think, 12 for like $6. They're so cute. Anyway, I think this turned out adorable. I absolutely love it, and I think it's pretty unique looking. For this project, we're going to make a fabric accent pumpkin, and this is not one of the orange foam pumpkins, but this one I found in the Dollar Tree Plus section, and we're going to take some of my favorite Pioneer Woman fabric that I pick up at Walmart. You get the little bundles that you saw there in the whole package. I decided to use this one. I'm going to cut it up in the strips. I measured it from the top to the bottom, and then we're just going to use some hot glue, and we're going to glue those into the little, I guess you would call them spines of the pumpkin. This is a really easy project because you can just watch TV as you're gluing along. It is not hard. You're just going to measure out your fabric strips. Mine are about 1 inch, and then just glue it down. So once I have all the pieces glued down, I then decided that it needed a bow, so I'm going to go ahead and use some of my fabric, and then I used some of my burlap fabric ribbon. It is a linen ribbon. It's so pretty, and I love the quality. It's like pretty thick ribbon. I'll go ahead and leave a link to their website if you want to check out any of their other linen ribbons, but here it is, styled in some decor. took 2 of the bundles of fabric from the Dollar Tree. I've also wrapped a smaller of the foam pumpkins in jeans, and if you want to see that video, I'll link that down in the description box. But I'm going to go ahead and take my 2 fabric bundles. I cut them into strips. Again, they're about a 1-inch strip if you're trying to measure. I don't measure, I just kind of look, put my scissors and tear. But if you're wanting to measure, they're about an inch. And then I'm going to alternate between the solid blue color and the plaid blue. So the plaid blue also has the same kind of color of blue from our solid fabric, so it works really well together. And you're just going to randomly go around and glue them. I went kind of like I was sectioning a circle into fractions. You know, this would be fourths, and then I turned it, and then I'm going to go ahead and do that again. But whatever way that you choose to glue on your fabric would be fine. You just want to have strips and you want them to be kind of intertwined together. So here it is after I've gotten it all covered with the fabric. I took another 2 pieces of my garland thing and I glued those together to make my stem. If you can find the little stem pieces from Dollar Tree, those are my absolute favorite pumpkin stems. My store didn't have them, or I missed getting them this year, which was a bummer. But if you can find those work really well for pumpkin stems. Then to make my shabby bow, I always take just several pieces of fabric and then I use one of the pieces of the fabric to tie it together, because then it becomes part of the bow and you can't even tell, which is my favorite part. And then we're going to go ahead and tie on just another loose piece onto the bottom of our stem to cover up any of the stem pieces that might be showing, and then glue on the front of our bow to that other piece that we had already tied on, trim off any excess, and here it is, styled in some decor. Wanted to use my solo wood flowers for this one, so I'm just taking various sizes and shapes and I'm going to go ahead and glue them all around the top of this pumpkin. I love solo wood flowers. There's so many things that you can do with them. This really becomes a really cute shabby chic pumpkin. But you can use, they have actual plain colors as well. Dollar Tree sells some smaller of the solo wood flowers that you can actually dye, or you could use the actual wood flowers that Dollar Tree has. I think those are really pretty as well. But we're going to just go ahead and finish up gluing our solo wood flowers around the top, and then we're going to go ahead and add a little extra to our blooming pumpkin. You could stop here if you wanted to. You don't need to add the extra that I decided to add on to it, but I think it looks really cute. So I took a couple of pieces of my excess fabric that I've been using this season. If you've been watching me, you've seen that fabric in a couple DIYs, but I cut little strips and I'm just going to go around underneath my solo wood flowers. I'm going to add a little bit of glue, and then I'm going to take my scissors and kind of push my ribbon into that glue so it looks like it's underneath there, and I'm going to add about 4 of those around the pumpkin. Then once I have those glued onto the pumpkin, I am going to go back and take some pearls that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to add those pearls to the ribbons underneath the flowers. I think this turned out so cute. I had my son vote on the project that he liked the most, and this was actually his favorite pumpkin of the video. Let me know if this is your pumpkin or if one of the other pumpkins won out for you. My favorite pumpkin of this video happens to be the corn husk one, but you guys let me know down below which one of these turned out to be your favorite. Is the ugliest yet cutest pumpkin I think I've ever made. I went ahead and took these coffee filters. I tore them in half. They don't have to be perfect. You can cut them if you want to. And then I just wadded them up in a bow. You could also do this with toilet paper, I decided, as I was like halfway through this pumpkin. But you're just going to do several of them, and then we're going to start hot gluing them around the pumpkin. Now, a note here, you could add the stem prior to adding your coffee filters if you wanted, and then put the coffee filters around the stem. that would be an option too. I didn't do that and it still turned out absolutely adorable, so it's up to you. But here we are just going to glue these all around. As I was gluing these, I just kept thinking to myself, wow, this is pretty ugly. Then, when I got to this part, it reminded me of George Washington. You guys let me know if you see a sheep, George Washington. What do you see in the face of that pumpkin slash animal? Anyway, you're going to cover the entire pumpkin with your coffee filters. Then we're going to make another shabby bow using my golden white fabric and some jeans. And I think I snuck some of my burlap fabric ribbon in there too. We're going to go ahead, glue our stem down onto our coffee filters. Then we're going to go ahead and attach our bow. And I decided this needed a little something. You could stop here if you wanted to, or if you don't have the solar wood flowers. This particular flower came from the Dollar Tree, so I am going to just go ahead and glue that right in the middle of the bow. And here it is, styled in some decor. We're going to start with this plastic trick-or-treat pumpkin. This was left over in my shed. We had several of them. Every time my kids can't find their trick-or-treat bag, we end up buying another pumpkin, so we had kind of a lot of these in the shed. But we're going to take that and remove the handle, and then I'm going to take some foam board, and I'm just going to trace the top of the pumpkin on the foam board and cut it out and glue the foam board to the top of the pumpkin. And then I had these wood pieces that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to glue 2 of them together on top of the foam board to make the stem of my pumpkin. Then I'm going to take the microfiber mop that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to be removing it from the plastic piece that connects it together to make the mop head. I just use my wire cutters to cut off the pieces that are holding it together, and then I slide it out of this black plastic piece. It took a little bit of effort to get it out of there. I think I was pulling it the wrong way because once I figured that out, it came out quickly. So if you have another way to take the mop head off, let me know in the comments below. This is the easiest way I figured out to do it.
The light that flickers will blow away the sun.
So the mop is just tied together with part of the mop to kind of loop it together. So I just untie that, and then I have like this continuous strand of mop. And then I'm just going to glue it around in a circle around the entire pumpkin. So my foam board ends up having kind of a lip on one side. I guess I didn't notice that as I was gluing it on, but I was able to cover it up with the mop. I would just make sure when you're tracing your foam board you get it as close to the size of the top of the pumpkin as possible. When the project's over, you can't even really tell that there's an extra lip there, but I think, you know, if I was to do it again, I'd make sure I cut the circle better when I glued it on.
Autumn comes too soon.
So this is definitely one of those projects that you're going to want to watch TV while you do, or listen to a book, an audiobook or something while you're doing it, because it does take some time to get the mop all the way around to cover the entire pumpkin. It's not hard, it's just time consuming. I was able to almost cover this entire pumpkin with one mop. I had a little bit of the bottom that was not covered when I finished with the mop, and I just decided to go ahead and use a little bit of another mop. So it's up to you. I think I wanted to make sure it was totally covered and you couldn't see the bottom, so you might need about 2 mops for this. And then you're going to, once you have the mop all covered in your pumpkin, you're going to take some twine, and I just wound it around about 3 or 4 times, and then I tied it in a knot around the wood pieces to kind of give it the appearance of the stem part of the pumpkin. And then I just cut the loops apart once I had it tied on there.
I'm not ready for autumn. Autumn comes too soon. Autumn comes too soon. The light that flickers will blow away the sight, and all that blossomed will wait.
Once I cut the loops apart, I just trim it so it's a little bit shorter up by the stem, and I'm done.
Not now, I'm not ready, not just yet. I'm not ready for all.
So this pumpkin cost me about $3 because I had the plastic pumpkin and then the mop and the wood stems. So $3 for a very cute farmhouse. So for this project, we're going to be using a breadboard wood cutout that they have at the Dollar Tree. I'm using my Cashew Waverly chalk paint, and I'm just going to cover the whole thing. Then I'm using my sanding block, and I'm just going to go around the edges and give it a good sand. I also do a little bit on the front and back as well, just to give it a little bit of distressing. The cashew color is basically the color of the wood, so you can't see a lot of it as it comes through, but the reason I did it was because then I was going to go over it with another color. So I'm using Sage chalk paint by Folk Art. I did pick this up at Hobby Lobby, and I have very little paint in my brush, so it's like kind of some elbow grease to get the paint on here, but I wanted it to be a very light color because I don't want it to take away from what we're going to put on top here. So I'm just doing a very, very light coat, and then I'm going to go over the top or the front of it as well, but there's like basically no paint in my paintbrush, and I'm just like lightly putting on whatever is left in there that I can get on. I do dip it back in the paint, but very, very little, so you just want like a hint of the paint. So I'm going to be using this window cling set that came from the Dollar Tree. They have so many cute window clings out this year. I just think they get better and better every year, and they're just adorable. So I'm using some Mod Podge and just a regular paintbrush, and I'm painting on the Mod Podge. I give it a really good coat, and then I'm going to stick it on to the front of the breadboard. Now you could put any window cling here that you want that fit here. I just thought that this was really kind of a cute pattern, and it went really well with the shape. So once I get it glued on, I decided to take one of the like leaves that is also in this set, and it kind of matches the sage paint that we put around the edge, and all I'm going to do is glue that one to the top. And again, I just use my Mod Podge, a generous amount of glue, and I glue it on there. That is a really fun thing about window clings. Like, you can do, if you don't have a vinyl cutting machine, this is another really fun way to jazz up projects without having to spend a lot of money. So this ribbon was in my stash, and it just matched the colors really well. So I made one of those crossover bows that I like to make so much, just a small one this time, and I am going to dovetail the ends. And then I decided that it still needed something. It was missing a little bit of something, and my go-to thing if something's missing something is buttons. So I pulled out my Dollar Tree buttons, and I found an orange button that went really well with the colors, and I'm just going to glue that into the middle of the bow, and then this project is complete.
Do it all with you by my side. If you're in, meet me here tonight. Be brave and come along. I'll be your ride. Promise we don't need no brake lights. We can travel the world, so just say yes. Choose to do.
I hope you liked the first project. It was definitely my favorite from the video. Let me know down in the comments if you're going to recreate it. If you are liking the video, if you're liking just the DIYs, or you just really like my channel, I'd love it if you hit that like button. It helps my video be seen by other people. And let's get back into the video so you can see the rest of the projects I made today. So So for this project, I'm using one of those wood crate, or I don't know, it's not a crate, but one of those like wood drawer boxes they have in the Crafter Square area. I'd already painted part of this one with some pumpkin Waverly chalk paint, so I'm just going to glue the inside of the box, inside, like the drawer part inside the box. And I'm going to have the heart facing down so you can't see it. Once I get it glued in there, I do cover the rest of the box with the pumpkin Waverly chalk paint, and then I take my cashew Waverly chalk paint and I go over all the box with my chippy brush. So the window cleaning set that I was using for this project had a lot of orange in it, and I felt like the orange was going to get lost in the orange paint. So I did put a generous amount of that cashew paint on top. Then I'm taking these wood beads. These did come from Amazon. I will link them down in the description box, but all I'm going to do is glue 4 of them to the bottom because we're making just a little stand, I guess, or a raised box. Once I get my wood beads glued on, and I don't paint these, I leave them the natural wood color because I feel like it complemented nicely the colors that are going on in the box, but you could totally paint them if you wanted to. So I'm just taking some various pieces from this window cling set. This one had kind of a mixture of leaves and just some kind of fun things like a pumpkin spice cup and a sweater, and I think the sweater says sweater weather. This one says pumpkin spice, and so I just go around putting these little window clings on each side of the box, so we're making a cube. And then I use some of the leaves. Now some of these like overlap the box, and that's okay. If your window cling doesn't fit onto the surface that you're putting on, you're just going to trim it just like you would a sticker or anything like that. And just make sure you have a good amount of glue on there to keep it on. I went ahead and trimmed these ahead of time, or like right after I glued them on, but you can wait until they dry as well. I have another project, I'll link it up here in the cards, where I did Christmas ornaments, and I waited until those dried to cut. So we're going to add this last window cling up here on the top, and I kind of play around. I wanted to put the words, but I didn't really like how it fit, so I decided to use this pumpkin, and once I get the pumpkin glued on, then this project is complete.
Whatever comes next. This or that. Getting drunk on whiskey on a Tuesday night. I'm drinking where I'm by an open fire. Make love or fight. This or that. This or that.
So for this project, we're going to be using one of the house cutouts from the Dollar Tree. This is another new wood piece, along with my folk art chalk paint in sage, and I'm using this sticker sheet from the Dollar Tree. So this is the same one we used for the cube. I decided to use this Hello Fall sticker here. I go ahead and I'm going to glue it to the bottom of the house. If all you wanted to use was this sticker, it would be really cute to glue it just in the middle. But I'm going to add another window cling here. So I glue this one at the bottom, and then I'm going to take the pumpkin off of this one and I'm going to glue it on top. Mine ends up being a slightly crooked. I wasn't paying attention, I guess, and I let the glue dry. You can readjust these if your glue is not quite all the way dried. So once I get my window clings glued on, then I decide to take some twine, and I really just make a bundle of twine. It's like 3 or 4 pieces. I tie it off with a knot in the middle, and then I'm going to glue it at the very base of the pumpkin stem. Once I get that glued on, I decided it needs a little bit more something. I do dry brush over the entire thing, window clings and all, with my Cashew Waverly chalk paint, and then this project is complete.
Evenings on the train or catch a morning flight. Enjoying dinner until midnight. Or bed by night. This or I wanna see it all. Find the northern lights. See the stars in the open wild.
They're all inspiration pieces from this video right here from Canterbury Cottage, and Sherry is amazing. She makes wonderful DIYs, and this video really inspired me to make all 3 of the DIYs in this video today. This is also part of the Try It Tuesday, which I will get into more later in the video. So Sherry created this really cute pumpkin DIY using books, and I absolutely love book decor, and so I thought I had to recreate this. Now, I know that some of you are feeling like, oh my goodness, she's ruining these books, but definitely no, I am a book lover myself, and I treasure all the things that I make with them. So many books make it to landfills every year, and so I don't mind creating book decor knowing that I'm going to continue to use it over and over again and save something from going to the landfill. So all we're doing here is removing the covers from all the books. They were just various sizes, and I did pick these up at the Dollar Tree. However, you know, if you're a thrift shopper, definitely they are so much cheaper at the thrift store, like $1 each. But all I did was glue them together, and then I took some of my orange Waverly chalk paint and my chippy brush, and I'm going to cover the entire stack of books with the orange paint. I used the chippy brush on purpose because I didn't want to give it full coverage. One of the books I was using had like some colored pages in it, and so I had to give that bottom book a really good coat down there, but the rest of them I just wanted it to look worn and aged. All I'm going to do next is take these wood rounds, and these were just left over in my stash. They do have something similar at the Dollar Tree. You're just going to glue them into the middle until you get the desired height of your stem. I used about 4 here. I felt like the book stack was pretty tall, so it needed a fairly good size stem. Once I get these all glued on, I'm using this twine wired ribbon from the Dollar Tree. Now mine does end up being like a little bit plain here on the top. I think it definitely needs some leaves or something, some greenery up at the top, but all I'm going to do is add this twine, and then this project is complete.
I've been feeling so small. Watch the clock ticking off the wall. But tonight I'm letting it go.
For this project, I'm going to use 3 of these pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to go ahead and remove the raffia bow, and then I'm going to sand off the glitter. I hardly ever use these pumpkins just because of how much glitter is on them. It takes forever to get it off. But once I sand off all of the glitter, I went ahead and traced some book pages and cut them out, and now I'm just going to glue them onto the front of my pumpkin. So I'm using a regular glue stick. You can definitely use Mod Podge for this if you would like, and I'm just going to adhere these all to the front of these pumpkins. So Sherry only used 1 of the pumpkins in her video. I decided to make this a little bit different than what she had created, and so I'm using 3 of the pumpkins today. So once I get the paper glued on to the front, I'm going to take my sanding block and go around all of the edges just to make it a clean edge, and there's no excess book pages hanging off of these. So what I really loved about Sherry's video was just how rustic her DIYs were. They're simple, they're fun, and she does a lot of that on her channel, and I think you'll love it. So definitely check out her channel when you're done watching my video today. So once I get these all sanded, I decided I didn't want to leave them just the cream colors. I did pick cream pumpkins for this project on purpose because the book pages are cream. So I decided to go ahead and use my orange paint again, and this is, I believe, Pumpkin by Waverly. I'm using one of those, it's kind of like a stencil brush or a dry brush from the Dollar Tree over in the Crafter Square area. I go around the corners and all the edges with it, and then on this first pumpkin I go back and forth for the motion, and it picks up a tiny bit of the glitter part that's underneath there, and I don't want any of that wording to show up. So for the next 2, I decided to go ahead and dab. You can see here that I'm just kind of dabbing up and down as I go along the pumpkin. That worked a lot better, and none of the lettering or glitter part from the bottom comes through that way. So definitely you're gonna dab, not wipe. So once I get all 3 of those done, then I'm just taking some hot glue, and I'm going to glue the first 2 pumpkins together just on the sides. Then I'm going to take my 3rd pumpkin, and I'm going to glue that to the front of these 2 pumpkins. So they're overlapping in a trio of pumpkins basically. So what I decided to do here was just take some stickers that I had in my stash and I'm just going to adhere them onto these pumpkins. So there are so many options with stickers, and Dollar Tree has some really great stickers these days over in their Crafter Square area, and sometimes they even have like the seasonal stickers in the seasonal area, so you could really use any stickers. These came from my stash. Again, Hobby Lobby is a great option for stickers as well, because almost every other week they're half off, so you could find some really great stickers for these. My stickers are more on the Thanksgiving side, but I really loved how this turned out, and I feel like you could leave it up the entire fall season. So I'm just going to arrange these stickers onto my pumpkin here, and I am going to kind of show you how that all kind of came about. Now, these stickers are more like vellum stickers, so they're not like paper stickers. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but they're pretty much like a clear background with the sticker part showing through, so then when you lay it down it doesn't really look like an actual sticker. So when you go shopping for your stickers, I think those are the kind that you're going to want to buy. That kind of vellum-y type sticker. Now, again, any sticker would work here. This way, though, the paper actually shows through that we put on the pumpkin. Anyway, so I just do various stickers. The reason I picked this sticker pack was for this long sunflower sticker, because I thought originally I was just going to put that sticker on, but I decided, you know, I wanted to go for it, so I cover this whole thing with the stickers, and I'm not sorry I did, because it turns out really, really cute. It would be fun to make these with all kinds of different type of stickers on there. So this one becomes more, I think, classy looking with this particular sticker pack that I picked. But anyway, I'll let you watch just a tiny bit of me putting the stickers on here. Once I get all the stickers on, then it's going to be time to just adhere those raffia bows back onto the pumpkin. So I didn't do anything fancy. I didn't get any new ribbon out or anything. I thought the raffia bow looked great. It still goes kind of with the rustic theme we have going here with these pumpkins, and so I didn't feel like an extra ribbon was needed, but if you wanted to change up the ribbon or just put a different ribbon there, you totally could. But once I get them all glued on, then this project is complete. So this project was inspired by Sherry's wagon project in her video. I didn't have a wagon, so I decided to just use one of these crates from the Dollar Tree, and I'm using my antique Waverly wax. Now my paintbrush was kind of wet, so my wax was kind of spitting everywhere, but you can also use watered down paint. I've done that many times, a trick my sister-in-law taught me several years ago. It works perfectly fine, so if you just have brown paint, add a little bit of water, shake it up, and you got a wonderful stain. Then I took my terracotta pots. These were also from the Dollar Tree like a long time ago in the summertime, but Hobby Lobby sells these all the time. So I'm going to paint 2 of them using my same orange color. Then once my crate dries, I'm just using these stickers I had in my stash. I believe they came from Hobby Lobby, just some stickers or some letter stickers. Rub-ons would work fine here too from Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to spell out pumpkin patch. So I start in the middle and then I go back towards the front of the word and then spell the rest of the word just to kind of make sure that it's even. And like I said, I'm spelling out pumpkin patch. I love these letter stickers. I've used them several times. At first when I bought them, I thought, there's not very many of them, but I have used these for at least 3 different projects, so they were definitely a good buy. I picked them up at Hobby Lobby. So once I get pumpkin patch spelled out on our crate, then I'm going to go ahead and put some Spanish moss into my crate. So I just go ahead, put some hot glue down in the bottom, and then I just spread it out in the crate. Spanish moss is so crazy dirty. Anyway, it got everywhere. But you can pick up Spanish moss at the Dollar Tree as well, or you can pick it up on Amazon. Sometimes it's cheaper than even getting it at Hobby Lobby. I'll leave a link down in my description box if you want to check it out. So I went outside and I picked out some stems from my tree, and all I'm going to do is glue my stems into the little holes on my pot. That's what Sherry had done. She'd made a very rustic looking with just some natural twigs as her stems. I definitely think I needed some leaves. I might go back and add those later, but then this project is complete.
I just wanna feel alive. It's just what I do when I'm out, so try not to hold me down. Feel alive when I'm in this.
Spare pieces of wood that I had lying around, and I'm just going to use my antique Waverly wax and stain all of those pieces of wood.
I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind. I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down.
So this idea came to me just because I have some younger kids at home and we aren't traditionally trick-or-treating over here where I live, and so I wanted the kids to have still a fun Halloween even though we aren't doing what we would traditionally do. So I wanted to make these napkin holders and plate holders and silverware holders to kind of give a fun party feel even though we're not really participating in a big party.
Never figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind. I will keep on holding my head high.
So we're ready to move on to our wood pieces, and I'm using kind of a stain. I just added some acrylic paint to this cup and then added water to it. If you have been with me for a little while, you saw me do this technique with a garland that I did and a trash to treasure sign that I did, and I will list those videos down in the description box in case you want to check them out. But we're just going to paint this ghost with the watered down paint. It's kind of like a stain, and we're going to do both sides of the ghost, and then we're going to do the pumpkin the same way with some orange acrylic paint, and then we're going to do the haunted house the same way with some black acrylic paint. So once I have them all painted, I'm going to trace around them on some brown craft paper, and I'm going to cut out the cutouts a little bit on the inside of the line, and so I can cover the back of them. The reason I'm covering the back of them is because I'm taking some scrapbook paper that's patterned and I'm filling the holes where like the eyes and the mouth are for the ghost, and then I'm going to fill in the holes for the eyes and mouth for the pumpkin, and then in the haunted house I'm going to fill in the windows. I realized after I finished the haunted house that I should have filled in the door too with my scrapbook paper. I don't know what I was thinking. I put down the brown paper, then I noticed the brown paper's there and I don't like it, and I cut that part off and without ever realizing the scrapbook paper should be there. But I'm just going to cover all the holes with different types of scrapbook paper and then cover those with the brown craft paper and then go over the entire thing with Mod Podge to hold it all together.
I step into water to wash away the pain. The devil's breath on my neck.
Next, I'm taking some black acrylic paint and just kind of brushing out a lot of the paint out of my stencil brush, and then I'm just going to go around the entire edge with a distressed kind of look around my pumpkin, and then I'm going to use that same black paint around the ghost's edges to give it that distressed look. And then for the house, I took white acrylic paint and went around it to give it some distressed look.
I don't know for how long I can carry on, pretending that everything's alright, and that it will be fine in the
Let me know in the description box below, what are your plans for Halloween this year? Did you get to have traditional Halloween? Was your Halloween canceled? Ours was pretty much canceled, and so we had to be creative and come up with our own party ideas so that we could at least celebrate and have a good time. So we're ready to construct the paper plate holder, napkin holder, and silverware holder. And when I was editing this video, I realized you could have totally used the tower blocks to create the backing for each one of these. I just had the spare wood laying around and thought that it would be a great idea. But if you didn't and wanted to buy the tower blocks game and glue them together to make the backing, you totally could. I used 8 of the tower blocks and glued them together to make the base for the tin can, and I think 8 would be fine for each of the backing as well. You would just hot glue them together, make a square, and glue those onto the back just like this one. I tend to be an impatient crafter, and I want things to dry a lot faster than they actually do. So if you were recreating these at home, you might want to use some E6000 here and then your hot glue so that it has a better hold. I kept having the back fall off of my house because I wasn't waiting long enough for it to dry. So just maybe a stronger adhesive besides glue, or the hot glue right there, might be better, just to make sure, like if you're putting a lot of plates in there or a lot of napkins and it's super full, that the wood block doesn't pop off. So I'm just gluing my tumbling blocks together, and I glued them in groups of 2, and then I glued 8 of them together. So that's actually 4 rows of 2. So we're ready for the silverware holder, and all I'm using is an old tin can and some scrapbook paper, and I'm just going to cover the can with the scrapbook paper, and then I'm going to glue the can to the little tower blocks that I glued onto the ghost. So for some reason I was struggling getting the paper onto this can. I must not have cut it out straight or something, but I ended up having a small bit at the top. So I just go around with my scissors and cut off any excess paper I have up there. And here we're going to glue it to the towering blocks that are attached to the ghost, and then we are ready to add our napkins, plates, and silverware. So I wanted to show you guys the cute napkins and plates that I'm going to use in our holders that we just made, and I picked these up at the Dollar Tree as well. So they are super cute and I can't wait to put them into the holders that we just made. So here's our final look, and I think it turned out adorable. So the plates and the napkins look so cute in there, and then the ghost is holding our plastic silverware, and I think that these turned out fabulous. I hope you're having a wonderful Halloween, and I hope that you will go down to the description box and hit on our playlist and watch all of these fabulous ladies in the Watch If You Dare collab. And as always, wherever you are in your journey is a perfect place to start, and I will see you guys in the next video. For my wreath today, I'm going to use this tobacco basket that I picked up at Hobby Lobby when they were having a 90% sale off of their Easter decorations, and I think I spent like $2 on this. So I'm going to remove the lavender. It's just attached with some wire on the back, and I'm just going to undo the wire and take that lavender bundle off, and then I am going to leave the welcome sign on there because I do want my wreath to say welcome. So next I'm going to take these corn picks that I found at the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use my wire cutters, and I'm just going to cut off the long wire piece that would go into the ground right at the leaves, so I just have like a smaller piece of corn to go in my wreath. Not just yet. I'm not ready for autumn. So next I just have a pile of all the things that I picked up at the Dollar Tree to make my wreath. So I have the corn picks, and then I picked up some of these apples that I really liked, and just some fall leaves, a couple bundles of each of these, and then I picked up several different colors of the berries. The blue ones actually are my favorite. I don't know, they kind of look like blueberries, but I just really like the color, and I thought that it was a nice contrast for fall because blue is really the in color for fall this year. So I just have them all kind of stacked up here. I picked up these little bows. I actually end up not using these bows because they are a little bit too small to go on the wreath, but I just picked up a variety of things that I thought would look good, and I just have them all cut and ready to go. And then next I'm going to take my antique wax from Waverly, and I'm going to paint the Tabasco basket with my wax, and I'm going to do the entire front and the back, so the entire thing is covered. I do actually go over the welcome sign also with the wax, and then I end up going back over it with some white paint, just to give it a more white color.
Autumn comes too soon.
I'm ready to assemble the wreath part, and I'm just going to start with the leaves, and then I'm adding the berries and the apples, and I'm just trying to decide where I want them to be placed. I did cut the apples apart. That was the only pick I cut apart. And then I ended with the corn, and so I'm ready to kind of secure it in place. All I did was tuck the ends into the actual basket. So I'm going to take my piece of wire and I'm going to go around the entire bundle just like it was with the lavender, and I'm just going to secure it in the back with this piece of wire. So I have it all attached, and I'm ready to just kind of fluff it out. I just start kind of bending it down a little bit so I can see the welcome sign, and then I'm bending out the berries and the flowers so it just looks fuller on the bottom, and I try to get the leaves to go around the corn because I want it to look like it's all kind of together in there. Not just separate pieces. So it takes me a few minutes to kind of fluff it out, and I just keep playing with it. That's the thing with flowers and wreaths, you just keep playing with it, you keep fluffing until you get kind of to a desired look that you're going for. The nice part about attaching this with wire is that it can be easily removed, so if you decide you don't like it anymore or you just want to change it out for a different season, you can take that off and you can have a whole new wreath with new greenery or new accents in it.
Hide with me, hide with me, hide with me. Come and hide with me, hide with me.
So I decided it was still kind of missing something, and I remembered I picked up this velvet pumpkin at the Dollar Tree, so I'm going to glue the velvet pumpkin into the middle of the swag part that I put on the basket. So I didn't think it was really able to use wire on that part, so I just decided hot glue was the best option. So I'm going to make a bow, and I'm using my bow maker that I picked up at a garage sale for less than $1, which was a steal. And you just lay the ribbon back and forth in between these two dowels, and then you pinch it together with a pipe cleaner, and then you're just going to fluff out the bow. Bows just take a lot of time to fluff and work with until you get a desired look.